Assalamu alaikum friends. Today we will discuss the fourth chapter of this book, and its name is How to Win Friends and Influence People. And the chapter is about a good conversation. Dale Carnegie here narrates an episode about a bridge party, a party in which some friends gather and take some drinks and play cards. And Dale Carnegie says that he was never interested in such parties, but because of friends, he would attend sometimes. And in one of those parties, he could find a lady totally mismatched, and she was not interested in playing those cards. And she came to him and asked him that, "Aren't you Dale Carnegie?" I nodded my head in affirmation. Then she told, "You were once the manager of Lowell Thomas." And Lowell Thomas was a great American this author and a broadcaster. And Dale Carnegie nodded his head in affirmation, saying, "Yes, then you'd have visited so many countries of the world." And he again nodded his head. "Then it is a good joke that I will listen from you about the travels you had with this Lowell Thomas." And he again nodded his head. Then they sat somewhere, and the lady started with saying that she was fortunate enough to have a visit to Africa with her husband. Then Dale Carnegie asked, "Oh, is it so?" Then the lady narrated the whole story, what they saw in Africa, how they enjoyed the trip, so on and so forth. And the lady didn't allow Dale Carnegie to utter a single word, and this meet ended. And during the whole conversation, Dale Carnegie had nothing to say. Then Dale Carnegie could find out that the lady didn't want to listen any stories from him. Rather, she wanted to tell her story. From this, Dale Carnegie could understand that whenever we organize a conversation or a discussion, every person wants to tell his story. Nobody is ready to listen to the stories of others. So here one point came to his mind, that in a conversation everybody comes to tell his own tale. He then finds out a takeaway from this thing, that he recalls that once he had seen the president of Harvard, Charles Eliot, in a keynote address saying that a good businessman has a good quality, and the quality is he attends every person, even if he would be very simple and he would be ordinary. When he comes for a business deal, he listens to him attentively and carefully. He never lets him the impression that he is a great person. Then the ordinary person even thinks that such a great person listens to an ordinary person carefully and attentively, and he undergoes the business deal. Then Dale Carnegie says about Abraham Lincoln, saying that during Civil War, Lincoln was having some problems. He wanted to discuss those problems with some of his friends. So he wrote a letter to one of his old friends and asked him to come immediately to Washington. The friend came to Washington, and when he met Abraham Lincoln made him to listen to his all woes and problems, but didn't ask for any suggestion. For the whole night, the guest was there to listen only, but he was never asked for any suggestion. I take away from it that whosoever comes, he has his own tale to tell, and when we are undergoing certain hardship, we must tell it somebody, and it lessens our burden from heart. Narrated the story of a common man who had met the great the psychologist Sigmund Freud, and after he had met him, he on his return told Dale Carnegie that he was very much happy that he found the opportunity to meet this Sigmund Freud, and he found that he was the best person he had ever met. Dale Carnegie asked him why he thought so. And he narrated that when he was talking with him, he told his ordinary tales, but Sigmund Freud listened to them very attentively. And when he would pinpoint some adventure, and Sigmund Freud would appreciate those things. And during the whole conversation, she didn't look towards another side, but towards his this face and in his eyes. So he could think that he was a great person and a great person. So Dale Carnegie then says that great people are great because they listen to the ordinary people and they try to find out their problems and they then give the remedy to those problems. Dale Carnegie then puts forth the examples of two ailing men, one who is having toothache. If he is asked that in his country a famine has broken and this millions of people have died, it is futile to tell him the story because he would be concerned about his toothache. He would be trying to find a man who would provide him the remedy for his toothache. Same if somebody is having some boil on his neck and he'll be told that there was a terrible earthquake in his country and thousands of houses were gutted and his house was also gutted. And it would be futile to tell him this story because he would be finding somebody who would be providing remedy to the boil which was there on his neck. So Dale Carnegie wants us that everybody has his own woes and stories to tell. Then he narrated the story of Roosevelt, saying about Roosevelt that whenever he was expecting some guest, he was having a thorough investigation about his interests, about his eating habits, and about his knowledge, about his work and behavior. And he would read books to understand that very person. He would have some meetings with other people who would be knowing about the guest. So whenever the guest would come, this Roosevelt would arrange a meeting with him, and by the end of every meet, the guest would be astonished to think that Abraham Lincoln was a knowledgeable person. He knew everything about the guest, about his field, about his area, about his interests, about eating habits. But it was not so complex. Roosevelt knew the psychology, how to win these people's trust. This Roosevelt would often say that there is a royal road to every man's heart, that is, we must probe what he values and we must talk of those things. So Dale Carnegie then says that can't we afford to make somebody happy without some possible reason? For example, somebody is doing some good work, we can appreciate him. Somebody is having good dresses, we can appreciate his dressing sense. Then Dale Carnegie says that some people are there in our vicinity who try to show authority. Usually these people are having inferiority complex, and so they want to inflate their ego. We must let them inflate their ego, expand their ego and show their authorities. For example, there is a watchman at some big office who has been told to restrict the people's movement, and he would be asking everybody to stay apart. So we must allow him to show his authority. If we try to hurt his ego, it will create problems for us, not problem for him. So we can make these simple sacrifices. It is simply told that if a dog comes in your way, even if it is your way, you must leave way for the dog, otherwise it will bite you. Even if you will kill the dog, it will not cure your bite, so leave the way for the dog. So towards the end of the chapter, Carnegie says that there is a good lesson from these anecdotes which I have told you during this 4th chapter. When you talk to somebody, you hold calm. Somebody who talks to you maybe getting furious with your opinion, you must allow him to talk. You must keep calm. If you got furious, if you got angry, you might speak out those things which you would not have spoken when you would be in calm atmosphere. So you must hold your calm so that your real intentions will not come out. If the rival person gets angry and he will be speaking those things which he would not have spoken in his calm behavior, so you'll have the knowledge of his real intentions. So there is tremendous wisdom in it. You talk less, and there is wisdom in talking less. You will be having least errors in your speeches. So I think that I could make the summary of the fourth topic for the chapter of this book. Hope you might have got some wisdom of it. So write to me if you have beneficial. Thank you. Have a nice day.